we have loaded into the fold and we're ready to go, so we'll toss it over to Forecourt Jester and Vedius. Take it away, guys.
The Canadian invasion as we come over across the pond to join my good buddy here, Mr. Vedius. It's been a while, sir. How you been?
It's been a while indeed. I'm doing great. Excited to be here for the semi-finals for Europe. And I think that we have one cracker of a game for us this evening. Team Secret versus SK Prometheus. We're going to get to see Waldemar going up against Qualifier. Super hype matchup, as you heard Rome talk about earlier. And we're going to be seeing Saw played against the Saw connoisseurs themselves. So really looking forward to seeing how well SK can pull this one out.
Yeah, but at the same time, Qualifier, if they can last this early phase up against Waldemar, then Qualifier there with that Vox, that hyper carry, it's going to be something to be reckoned with here into that late game. But for now, as you can see, Saw, he is going to be pushing up his luck right up against that turret, and there's nowhere really for Qualifier to go. Raph now is going to be doing a transition, just because this is about when you would probably see a little bit of a gank. And Waldemar, he has that Spider-Man just kind of tinglies. He just said, all right, there's a fortress in that bush. He gets out to dodge, and, well, for now, we're just going to continue on our merry way.
Gonna get out of that one nice and easy, and wow, already tense game. You have to remember that SK Prometheus, they are going up against the powerhouse that is Team Secret, yet to lose since that. Well, I mean, they won the Autumn Championships, they won the last qualifier, and here they are once again in the semi-finals. They're going to be making their way into the live championships, and at the moment a lot of these teams are playing for that seeding position, and what a great position you would be in knowing that you've just beaten Team Secret coming into the live championships that are going to be taking place in London. So gonna be an exciting game, very tense game, as we might see some action down here in the jungle.
Yeah, a little bit of damage there for Raph, but he is able to Vanguard to safety. Good use of the flares, though, from Mowgli in order to get that damage out. So Raph, again, he's just going to get spotted out by that flare, but we're not going to be chasing him down. There's not really a lot to get off the back of any of this. There's no jungle. The lane is now pushing up, and coming into that angle might not have been a kill, since they didn't really know where that black feather was. But again, Waldemar doing his magic, pushing up against Qualifier. As you can see, again, we are right up against that turret. But Raph, he's going to take this time. He's going to head on back, probably do a little bit of shopping as well, as Jetpacks get some solo experience into the jungle.
A little bit of a risky at the moment. We are playing on patch 1.14. And the jungle hits a little bit harder on the most recent patch, so the fact that they're putting jetpacks into solo means he's going to be taking a little bit more damage. That could put him at a bit of a risk of an invade, but I guess they're just going under the assumption that Team Secret aren't really known for being that invade style of play. So he's going to feel a little bit safer, just sitting in his jungle, farming away. No real worry of Team Secret looking for that aggression. But as I say that already, Mowgli looking to set up some deep vision, wants to have a good idea of what SK are trying to do in this early game.
Now, remember, it's also Mowgli on the Rome fortress. It's not going to be that carry fortress, so he might be able to set some of these up, but with Qualifier constantly pushed up against his turret, there's not really been a lot of availability to come into this lane and try to make their mark. You know, people are saying they're the Saw connoisseurs, they're the push team, they know how to counter this, but so far they seem to be pretty content just to let it happen. At this point, they know that Waldemar's not going to come down, and at the same time, Qualifier kind of has his hand full dealing with that push.
He does a little bit. I was saying Team Secret don't like to invade, but I'm eating my words right now as Mowgli and Palmatoro just take away SK's jungle without any hesitation, really utilizing this early game fortress power. And as you rightly said, Mowgli doing a good job of setting things up for Palmatoro to just take away that free jungle.
And they did bring Raph down low again, so there's not really going to be a big opportunity for a fight. Qualifier finally pushing back a little bit. He does empty his pockets and picks up a few items for his trouble there as well. You can see Jetpacks looking to cut off that roam, but Qualifier, again, Spider-Man senses are tingling, and, well, he's going to come back just A-okay. What do we got for the creep scores? 37 in lane to the 41. Waldemar, of course, is going to use his time as well. Pick up some additional for him. Is that a crystal pack on Waldemar?
This is something that we saw from SK in the quarterfinals, where they actually ran a crystal power saw. Now, he's played very much like an assassin. You go for that early aftershock, and you're pretty much looking for damage with the roadie run. Now, in a second, though, Mowgli, he's looking for a fight.
Yeah, perhaps. Raph is going to take a little bit of that brunt of damage again, and Mowgli just really trying to chase these guys off. If they can stew out this jungle, that's, what, 2 in a row now for those backs that are not going to be going over to the SK coffers. So falling a little bit behind in that gold. You can see it reflected into the top as well. About 600, and Raph again going to be dropping low. Waldemar was the big collapse target there as well. Palmataro perhaps isn't even done. He's getting off quite the pot shots, and that's going to be the SK lineup now, more or less just torn to shreds. They're not going to be able to contest anything that Secret do in the next few seconds.
Team Secret, beautiful rotations around the map right now, consistently moving into the back half of SK's jungle, putting the poke down wherever they can. Once they force Raph to a position where he can't provide the support that Adarden is so well known for, then they start turning their attention onto the other more carry members, Waldemar, Jetpacks, and there's nothing that they can do to respond because Raph isn't there to support them. So, really impressive stuff from Team Secret as Qualifier. He takes a bit of poke.
Jetpacks is going to be there in the front. We do got the suppression going down there from Waldemar, but Raph, he is going to be actually still there as well. So it will be a 3v3 if we do pursue. Double level 6 there for one side for Team Secret. We only have Waldemar with his ultimate ready to go. So if it is going to be a team fight, there we go. Jetpacks now just finally hit that level 6 as well. So we're going to be on even footings when it comes to the heroics. It could have been a little bit of a mistiming from SK's side if they had tried to go for that fight. But Waldemar, they're actually interested in picking up Palmataro here. Perhaps they're really going to go into it there. As Jetpacks, he's looking. There's the blood for blood there from Raph as well, but there's just not enough in the bank. They can't chase with that saw.
Wow, very aggressive play from SK. This time, they try to punish Team Secret with their aggression by getting the flank around from Waldemar. He sets up to use that roadie run, and you saw the burst that he's already able to get with it. Just after picking up that aftershock, he did roughly like 329 damage to Palmataro, and this early in the game, that is quite a huge amount of damage. Qualifier trading back and forth in the lane, but we're actually seeing double crystal power so far from the lineup of Team Secret. Now, this could become a problem as the game progresses. It is likely that you're going to see SK heavily itemized towards stacking up that shield to try and deal with this double crystal power build that is coming out from Team Secret. But I'm interested as to whether we may even see something like a hybrid sort of build developing from Qualifier. Only time will tell, though, as he has now picked up that alternating current.
All right, there's Waldemar. He was in the bush. He was just looking to soak up a little bit of experience, but he does get chased off. Qualifier will get a few pot shots to him, but he does take a turret for his trouble. And, well, they can't find the enemy team, so they're going to take a chance here on the gold mine. We do not have any scout traps down at all, but we do got a flare if we need it. Mowgli is going to be tanking this. There's the opponent's flare. Raph not going to be coming in. He is only level 4. There's no gauntlet, and unfortunately, the timing is just off. That's going to be now a whole bunch of gold now into the coffers of Team Secret.
Great play. Positional advantage in Team Secret's favor. They knew that they had superior vision. They used the flares to make sure that there were no scout traps coming out from SK, and it was simply a superior map movement coming out from Team Secret to secure that early objective.
Qualifier. He's going up a little bit too far. I think Waldemar just took a 313 chunk out of him with that combat knife, but there wasn't really a huge collapse there. Again, Raph doesn't have that gauntlet. It looks like he didn't want to go in too deep. He is level 8 now, remember, as well, and Raph, well, he's holding up into the back line, and he's going to be the target. But still, I mean, overall, in 8 minutes, there's been some skirmishes, but nothing really too deadly or lethal.
Well, you have to remember both compositions take a little while to ramp up, and this is something that Secret is pretty well known for, and that's their coordination and their team fighting. If they don't have to force anything in the early game, then they're not going to. They're just going to buy themselves time, and they're going to build small advantages over time with the use of their positional and good map rotation. So I do expect this from Team Secret, and it's sort of expected that SK, with the composition that they're running, that does take a little while to ramp up, to also be playing more towards the mid-game. But once you see these big item spikes coming through, expect the action to really start kicking off. Jetpacks, he's going to be looking for that Serpent's Mask. Waldemar likely going towards something like the Broken Myth next. May go for something like an Even Harvest. We'll have to see, as Waldemar does get collapsed on.
Yeah, that's going to be a silence and big damage as well. The fires of Adagio to solidify that first kill. I was going to say, by the end of it, we do actually have that fountain there for Mowgli, and the coffers had been emptied. We had basically spent every single cent that we had there from Team Secret, whereas Waldemar was sitting on about 1,200 or so. So after you pick up those tier 3s, if you can get in a fight before your opponents can go home and shop, well, it's going to be in your favor. And as you saw, first kill, first blood, gold mine on top of that as well. Lane isn't even really pushing that much either, so there's no reverse chip damage to be done on top of that turret. So Secret with the snipe, looks like they're going to be safe and go home pretty happy with that.
They certainly are, especially with the fact that they're able to collapse down onto this Saw. And I think everyone can agree that the last thing you want to ever do with the Saw is give him any kind of advantage. So shutting him down as much as possible, great way to kick off this game for Team Secret's Kvalifar. Whoa, needs to be careful.
Some hits. Yeah, now Mowgli's going to be there as well. We did actually just use the rockets there, Waldemar, as well, the suppression field. Looking for that wind up. A little bit of damage finally on top of this turret. So much for a push comp today. But Kvalifar, he's not going to be healthy enough for this. And Mowgli's going to be very hesitant to engage into 2v3. So it's really just going to be into the defenses for now. Team Secret is going to get pushed right up against this turret. And, well, SK, they got that gauntlet ready to go. If they wanted to fight on the turret, that's probably their best shot to do it. Mowgli at half and Kvalifar already headed home. But they are just going to take the push and now rotate and escort Waldemar for a little bit more shopping.
So let's just take stock for a second as to the two teams in terms of their itemization, because this game has been very much about farm, get items, look for plays. Kvalifar now completed the broken myth, so he realizes that shield is going to be built up. Hang on though, Mowgli may have found SK.
Yeah, and Kvalifar coming down. Waldemar is not going to be here for this fight. In fact, for the 2v2, it's not Jetpacks that's winning out of this one. Silence will seal the deal, and that's a Kvalifar kill. Now Raph, unfortunately, not really too many places he can go, and he's going to be burning away the blood for the attempted heroic save. Unfortunately, he will not. And again, Palmotaro picks up that third kill of the game. Now, during all this as well, Waldemar was up in that lane, but he's not confident to do a solo push, so we're not going to be maximizing that absence in lane. And you can see Kvalifar, he's going to take those back, so it's really just coming up again for Team Secret.
It certainly is. SK Gaming go for a very aggressive invade, and they even start the minion miner. And when they didn't really have the vision, they had no idea where Team Secret were. They end up getting punished heavily for it. And as you rightly said, SK lose their back camps. Team Secret are able to get themselves 2 kills, and they're able to extend this gold lead down to about 3,500. So Team Secret, this game is playing exactly the way that they want it so far.
Oh, Waldemar, that was probably a big mistake. He does hit boots, though. So he will be okay. But as soon as he saw that knife go right in, they said, all right, let's do this. Here comes the gauntlet. Gets a stun there on top of Mowgli, and Waldemar is still taken. We have some fountains actually going to be keeping him alive, and that dive is going to come up empty for Team Secret. Now, they did use their own fountains, so overall, it's not the biggest of differences. But again, Waldemar, he's going to be a target. Mowgli jumps in. Could be a little bit too far. He's going to get slowed up by the suppression. He took some turret shots for his trouble. And as it all comes to the end of it, we just clear the smoke and nobody's dead.
Nobody is dead, but that just shows you the caliber of these two teams. The way they're executing these fights is so tense, so clutch, and you're just waiting for one team to make a mistake, and so far neither one of them are making big enough mistakes for the other team to capitalize upon, other than when SK made that overextension. But so far, in terms of the actual team fights, very even, and the concerns for SK coming into this game were, will they be able to match up to the powerhouse that is Team Secret without Leon in the lineup? And in terms of their team fight execution, SK are doing perfectly fine. They're keeping punch to punch with Team Secret. The question is, can they maintain that as Kvalifar continues to apply pressure up in the lane?
Waldemar's burst on top of Kvalifar has gone from the 200 to the 300, now hitting the 400 damage range with that combat knife. And Kvalifar is not exactly, the tankiest of people at this point. Now, Jetpacks, Waldemar is actually going to split from the team here, and, well, that's going to sign his own death warrant right there. Not entirely too sure if that's a misclick or if he's looking to become a martyr, but I'm not too sure it's all going to come down to it, because Raph is going to join him there into the death. And now Jetpacks, he's going to be burning. He has the dogs on him there as well, but we're not going to be diving, not going to be looking for that ace. Looks like we might just go for this turret instead, because it is absolutely melting. Could they jump on top of Jetpacks? They're not really willing to, so he will live, but that's 2 more kills and another gold mine going over to Team Secret.
Wow, Team Secret are just playing this game so well. I was praising SK for going blow for blow against Team Secret, and then the one big team fight that really mattered, they just collapse under the pressure. Waldemar gets completely separated from his team. It makes it so easy for Kvalifar and Palmotaro to collapse down onto him. And then once they'd shut down Waldemar, Jetpacks could do absolutely nothing. Raph on the backline ended up getting chased out. Team Secret secure themselves 2 kills. They get themselves the turret, which gives them a huge map control advantage. And then, just before the maximum gold payout is reached, they secure themselves the gold miner. So Team Secret playing this game nearly flawlessly so far.
And their reward is about 6,000 gold or so above their opponents. If you look at Qualifier as well, not only does he have 2 kills, but 3 assists. That's 100% participation right there. But he also has the most farm in the game at 154. So not only has he been doing really good in these team fights, but his last hitting has been really on point. And this is one of the, again, like the big strengths of Team Secret. They are so mechanically skilled at this game that if they do actually miss out a creep, well, it's going to be a big surprise to kind of everyone. Now we got a gauntlet going down that will keep Mowgli from the kill shot there on top of Waldemar, but you can see again Waldemar, he's looking to just survive through this one, and Adagio is actually now the one to drop. Now we have lost out Raph, Jetpacks is in the back, and that leaves Waldemar on the front line. That's not exactly where you want to put your saw, and the cleanup is swift. That's going to be the first ace of the game, and that is the first kill for Jetpacks and crew, but at the same time, they lose out a turret and an ace. It's not the trade they were looking for.
Well, unfortunately for Team Secret, they lose their opportunity to grab that perfect game with the loss of Palmatoro, but you still have to give them credit for being able to turn that fight around, because initially it looked pretty bad for them. They tried to lock down Waldemar. They're unable to shut him down immediately, which means that Jetpacks is just free to do his damage on the backline, and you're starting to see the mechanical prowess that this individual does have on this Black Feather. He was putting so much pressure down onto Team Secret. He was able to kill Palmatoro, and you're thinking, this is it. SK might be able to turn this fight around, but then Kvalifier is like, hey guys, remember me? He turns things around, he's able to get his damage down, and he gets the 3-for-1 overall trade and an extra turret. So Team Secret once again showing why they are the kings of team fighting here in Europe. And speaking of team fighting,
yeah, Mowgli just bounds and bounds into that scout trap, but not really a ton of damage actually to be returned off of that. Mowgli is still here. Palmataro's coming into it as well. There's the silence, but it's some good reflex blocks to keep Jetpack actually still mobile, but it's Raph now who's going to be low. Waldemar is going to try to spin up. He's going to try to keep Mowgli at bay. Jetpack tries his best into the side of it, but the team is just split up in 3 different directions. Waldemar is still there. There's no point in running. Just try to get as much damage as he can, but it's not enough for a kill there on top of Palmataro. And look at Raph. He's going to get even chased down by Mowgli. Is this actually enough for a kill? There's nothing to help out Mowgli with this engage. And, well, as you see, Raph will live. But that's another turret as well. And the gold lead has ballooned to 5 digits, Vedius.
it just shows you how confident Team Secret are when it comes to playing these team fights, because Palmatoro, literally halfway through that fight, said, hang on a second guys, I'm gonna go shop, pick myself up an item, as well as the infusions, and then we can carry on with the fight. Because he knew that Qualifier could just continue to kite around the outside, and then Palmatoro re-engages the fight, he gives Qualifier the buffs, and then Qualifier goes Super Saiyan and carries the fight home, with Mowgli being the one to clean up. It's just Team Secret, just another day in the office for these guys. They really are showing their stuff today, you know, and everyone knows that this lineup is good, but I wasn't expecting them to be this powerful coming into this semi-final.
Well, again, is it the mind games? Is SK actually mentally prepared with that loss of Leon? Is there something back in the, just nagging them into the back of the line? Not to knock down RAF 29 at all, but the SK team, unfortunately, is just really not getting any of these trades. It is the first game of a best of 3, though. They can come back. Mentality is very strong when it comes to these kind of best of 3s, best of 5s, the finals, especially when you're in front of a live audience. But Secret kind of has them beat on terms of the team composition. Their teammates, I mean, they've been teammates for months at this point, and they have weathered the storm in those live finals. So their nerves are really looking rock steady today.
They certainly are. Team Secret, just such an experienced team at this point. And, when you think about their story initially coming in as the 8th seed for the Live Championships and then taking the whole thing, it really is a bit of a Cinderella story as to how far they've come now that they're here once again in the semi-finals, looking to make it into the finals. But that's enough storytelling time for Team Secret as they have the Kraken. They're looking to try and siege onto the base and try and end this first game.
Yeah, and at the 19-minute mark, I mean, it's going to be a very tough sell for SK to hold this one, but there goes that gauntlet. Doesn't seem to get a stun on anyone. Mowgli there in the dead center, but Raph, he is going to get low, and he is actually going to drop. That's now going to be the bleed for Mowgli to pick that one up, and 1, 2, 3, like dominoes, they'll just fall over. The Kraken turns his attention to the last turret, and the Crystal is not going to get defended through this one. Even with those death timers reduced, 15% a pop, they are still not going to be spawning back into the fold for defense, and that is game number 1, as you said, to Team Secret. Another day in the office for them, it seemed.
That was such a clean game from Team Secret. There's literally no other way to describe it. And my favorite part of the game was right at the end there, where Mowgli, he's like, hey, the casters are talking a lot about the other two. I need them to talk about me more. So he actually gets himself the triple kill at the end, and he secures himself the actual best KDA. Well, no, not the best KDA, but the highest kills on the team. So Mowgli, mad props to him. But Team Secret came into this. They had their saw picked away from them, and they were showing SK, okay, guys, you want to pick the saw away? Well, we're going to punish you for it. They utilized their composition perfectly. Their map control, their rotations overall were clean, crisp, and other than that one kill that SK were able to get, it was pretty much a perfect game for Team Secret. So really looking strong coming into this best of 3 series.
Well, I was really hoping to see a bit more of the roaming Saw that we saw in NA last weekend, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like the laning worked out, but you know who might actually be able to tell us a little bit more about that? Rome and Humanist. We're going to send it back to the desk to get their thoughts on what SK can do a bit better next round.
Well, once again, thank you Forecourt and Vidius for calling that action. Team Secret, a dominating performance here in match 1. Rome, they just blew it out of the water with a very quick and extreme victory there. Do you want to talk a little bit about the compositions that we saw? Because I think it was pretty interesting, both from Secret and SK.
Yeah, well, first thing we saw coming out of the Team Secret team was, they, again, secure that Adagio as their first pick. Pretty much showing the SK Prometheus team that, you know, we're really leaning towards this Saw push comp. What I think SK Prometheus did, well, wrong here, in fact, was because they got scared at the beginning. Instead of picking out a composition to counter it, they actually locked up that Saw first. And this actually just started a ripple down towards for their second and third pick. You see, you know, Saw, with being able to like be very immobile, but he's also very strong if he's able to get a composition played around him. It didn't work out so well for them after they secured up that Black Feather. We noticed on many occasions we had either Black Feather, just an Arden just going around that jungle, Saw was sitting up in lane, and many times they got caught 3v2. You're using Saw's immobility, you're supposed to use it as an advantage for your team. And instead, by picking up Black Feather, he was always diving to that backline and then instantly getting deleted by the Team Secret. So with this, I think in the next match, or in future matches in fact, that they should be prioritizing getting a composition that is a good counter, instead of trying to pretty much pick up a pick that actually cancels out the other team's composition.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. It makes a lot of sense. You can either pick it away from them, ban it away from them, or just counter the whole composition, which you think the latter would be the better idea here. You know, we did bring up those graphics before the match, really cool graphics. We talked about Palmatoro. We talked about Waldemar from SK. I think we have a graphic prepared for Qualifier. I'd like to bring that up and look at some of Qualifier's numbers, because he played an incredible Vox that game. He's been, of course, lights out the whole tournament. He has been for months. He's just been absolutely incredible. So, Rome, can you talk about Qualifier a little bit here?
And this statistic actually really goes into depth and shows how well he did last game. Noticing his KDA ratio is at 11.7. Last game was actually like 13, and he was a part of every single participation in terms of how his team did, with 13-0, and his gold per minute. This is amazing, just because you see him always on that lane, but the thing is, every time there's a team fight in the jungle, he is always present. His CS per minute, like here, is 9.95. Last game was 10. And this comes to show like how much efficiency he is. Like even when he's in the lane, he's always getting up that CS. And when he's not in that lane, he's making sure that he's keeping up in terms of making sure that those items are always on point. Second and third items in terms of that carry.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, his KDA ratio is off the charts, a little lower than Palmatoro's, but his gold per minute is actually higher. So, I mean, he's just outstanding in all of these categories, and a kill participation ratio of 85, almost 86%. That means, like, it's all about what you said, and it really highlighted in that last game the rotations from Qualifier. One of those early little skirmishes they had in the jungle, they already had Saw down there. It was a 3 versus 2, and Qualifier, he was just immediately rotated down to the jungle. He was able to get his allies back out of a little bit of a poor positioning situation. But it's communication, it's map awareness, it's all of those things.
Yeah, and this just comes to show like how much the Team Secret works together, in terms of unity, in terms of focusing on the same goal. Their team coordination during those team fights were excellent. Mowgli, last game played that Fortress, and although you notice like Fortress has that mobility in terms of his heroic perk, where as long as he's next to his ally, he has a great movement advantage, putting himself out in the front and making sure he's always bidding out those abilities. Last game was the perfect example of this. Many times we just saw him bouncing around on that Fortress, and using that skin, it just makes it look absolutely stunning to watch.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fun to watch that skin. One of the other players that I did want to talk about here, just briefly, if you got some information on him, Jetpacks, because I feel that Jetpacks really has a lot more weight on his shoulders here, coming forward. So we have this graphic up here. Now we look at this. His kill participation is insane. Rome, can you talk about why it is so high, and maybe some of the other numbers we're seeing here?
Well, throughout this entire tournament, we have seen Jetpacks multiple times, primarily playing as either a roamer or a jungle carry. And this is where it's really fascinating, because Jetpacks is known to pretty much be able to cover every single position in the game. You can either run from lane, jungle, or to the roam position. And the way he works with his team is, as long as he's with one person, they make really nice, smooth transitions into that jungle. But when they're going up against a Team Secret team, they have to make sure, like, if that laner's not present, if they're not going S3, they will get caught out. And going to this second match, this is one of the things I think they have to focus on. But primarily, like right even before the match starts, getting through this draft phase and making sure that they're playing very confidently. I feel during the last drafting, they went and got that Saw first. They were more under pressured in terms of, they were kind of worried about how Team Secret would approach the draft. Perhaps they'll try and grab that Saw comp, and they weren't really ready for that. Instead, this team, they're very strong in terms of their compositions, their understanding of the heroes, and their ability to execute different game styles. So with this in mind, I think, be very confident coming to the second match and just playing out how you would confidently usually play. Don't be worried too much about what Team Secret does, but instead worry about like how you're going to be able to counter the composition, making sure that you do have your power spikes, you do have the proper amount of scaling.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing that you mentioned there. You have to play to your own strengths and not just worry about countering what your opponent's good at, right? You're in a very important matchup here, so play to your own strengths. Great advice coming out of Rome. And with that said, guys, I believe we do have giraffes ready for match number 2. We'll bring those up now. All right, and yeah, there we are, loaded in. Looks like SK Prometheus going to be the first ban. You talked about what they have to do here. Of course, you can ban away things going into these push comps, but Team Secret so versatile. Rome, what are you thinking here as the drafter?
Again, like they're leading more towards this late game, banning out that Cruel, because you do know Palmatoro on this Cruel is deadly, and I think in the entire tournament nobody has such a high KDA as Palmatoro when he's playing that Cruel. And it's so stunning because, okay, Team Secret, you see them playing a Cruel in that jungle. You're thinking, very passive composition. We can take advantage of them early. But this totally flips around and does a 360, where Team Secret, whenever they're running a Cruel composition, they're always winning that early game. So this gets confusing in terms of, okay, like the power spikes or my understanding of how their composition works is totally like wrong. But in reality, it's just how Team Secret approaches it. They know exactly when to invade that jungle, and they always have somebody in the lane that does a quick clear. Most likely that when we did see them on the Cruel, they had a Scarf that would just obliterate that lane wave, rotate down really quickly.
Yeah, I think all good points you mentioned there, and yeah, it's crazy how they play that Cruel, and he seems to come online earlier than every other team. But SK, they pick up the Fortress, and we have Secret Answer here with the Ringo Catherine, and then Koshka picked up by SK Prometheus here. How are these comps working out in your mind, and do you favor one over the other right now?
Well, for right now, I can see that with this Ringo, there's going to be a lot of quick rotations coming out of the Team Secret side. But this is exactly how it's going to happen, because you see Koshka and Fortress here. You know they're going to be very jungle aggressive. They're going to be pushing out a lot. So as long as their last pick on the SK Prometheus side is able to rotate down pretty quickly, they should be fine. But should that not happen, we can expect to see Qualifier on this Ringo always booking it down to that middle jungle, helping out his team pretty much kite back and take out that Koshka first.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be very important. But we know Qualifier, he's always on point with those rotations. Scarf, the last pickup to round out SK Prometheus composition here. So they've got massive damage. They've got ability to jump onto this Ringo if needed. But Secret have that Catherine to peel them off.
And so this is where it's going to actually get very exciting. We do see Waldemar as an amazing Scarf player. But here on the other team, you have Qualifier now taking up this duel with Palmatoro on this Ringo. What's going to be really exciting here coming out of Team Secret is their ability to chain up their skills. And because they're so synergized and they play so well as one unit, watch for Catherine and Jewel stuns to pretty much sync up perfectly onto each other, followed up by Ringo's ultimate. But with SK Prometheus, they have a very strong composition and it scales out very good into that late game. But if Koshka is not able to land those yummy catnip frenzies onto her desired target, I think they're going to get kited back, and I think eventually Jewel is going to land that leap.
All right, well, look, keep your eyes out for those combos. We've loaded into the fold, and with that, I will toss it over to Forecourt Jester and Vedius. Take it away.
All right, so the second match of the Bloodbath with SK taking on Team Secret. It's, as the analyst said, Mr. Vedius, it's going to be the chains versus the fact that if we can get that jump on with jetpacks, early game versus late game is going to be rather interesting to see how this all develops.
Yep, I'm super excited to see Qualifier playing this duel, personally. I think that it's a recall hero that I'm yet to see him on. Typically, we've only seen Secret bringing out like the Kroll compositions, the fast push compositions, and once again, we're seeing this unique style of play coming out from Team Secret, and this is one of the things about this team. They have so many different compositions, they play so many different styles, and they're going to be bringing out this triple stun comp here today. So, some things I'm expecting: weapon power duel, crystal power, Ringo. Obviously,
Yep.
I'm cheating a little bit here because I can see what they're building. But at the
Good
same
call,
time,
Vedius. You know this game so well, sir.
but I think that it's what you're trying to do here is you're trying to set up the double stun with the Jewel and the Catherine to then follow up with the heavy crystal power damage from Palmatoro. So expect him to be more on the back line and Qualifier on the front line, which again is really interesting because Palmatoro, is usually the guy that's always running into these fights. So how well he can play on the back line, how well he can position, is going to be really interesting to watch.
Well, Qualifier is getting pretty bullied here into the lane, but Waldemar has really pushed up. Palmataro is going to get off that Achilles shot, and it's going to be a little bit of an anticlimactic chase. Mowgli just not really in range to pick up the stun there on Waldemar, so the little dragon will live for now. I'm actually a little bit more intrigued that Jetpack started off with boots, and Waldemar did start off with the energy battery.
So some interesting itemization coming out from these guys this time. Waldemar, though, definitely a well-versed Scarf player as he gets collapsed on.
Yep. When you're that far forward and there's three of them in lane, it's really just going to be lights out for there. Now, Jetpack's got some return damage on Qualifier, but a much earlier first blood this time. And again, it is going to over to the megastars of Team Secret. And Qualifier, as you said, with that weapon power jewel, he's not going to be looking for the big red button, but we are going to be looking for those Hellfire brews by the end of it.
We certainly are, and they can do some serious damages. Wow, Raph goes for the collapse.
Yeah, and they do actually pick up that kill of their own. Again, very early first bloods for both sides. Qualifier is here to just kind of push them off again, but Waldemar looked like he might have been able to rotate down had that fight lasted a little bit longer, but he will not be part of that. Instead, it will still just be that one kill. So the early game combo of Koshka and Fortress are still nothing to sneeze at.
Certainly the case, and I just come back to the North American Live Championships where it was pretty much only Koshka and Fortress that we saw at that event. But bringing it back on patch 1.14, certainly working well in terms of the early game, able to get that early kill onto Palmatoro is going to be great for them. And have a look at SK this game. We talked about their mentality coming into this series. They're not playing with Leon. We worried, will they be able to compete with the superstars? And in game one, they kind of got walked over. But game two, they're stepping things up. They're coming back and they're making these aggressive plays.
Qualifier was really much in danger of going down, but Waldemar, he took a turret shot to the face, and Palmataro was just in range to pick up that return. The Achilles shot, the twirling silver, and death for breakfast. That's not going to be putting us up now 2-1 here for Secret. As again, the three-man into the mid. They're going to be helping up Qualifier a bit. He does have that book of eulogies and a lot of cash now into his own pockets. Now he's going to be pushing up 2,000 plus, but that book is really going to go a long way for keeping him in this lane with that sustain. I'd suspect to see a 3-man roam down. They might be able to even catch Jetpacks. Who's catching who? Jetpacks jumped in. They're looking for the kill on top of Palmataro. Qualifier there for that peel. The double stuns are very deterring here from SK, but they do not get that kill. Qualifier will farm. Palmataro is going to be looking a little worse for wear, but overall they do live.
They certainly do. Very back and forth between the two teams once again. And as you rightly said, it looked like that the Team Secret were going for the collapse down onto Jetpacks, but he turns it around. He shows why you shouldn't mess with an early game Koshka and gets a lot of damage down. But speaking of damage, have a look at Qualifier right now.
Yep. He continually burns. That fan of the flames is so powerful. Mowgli comes up. He will get off that stun. Can we actually get the combo? Palmataro again, twirling silver forward. He's looking for the auto attacks, but this doesn't quite have it in the bag yet. If he had that level 6, you know he'd throw it there. But he's in the bush. Waldemar didn't see that one coming. Waldemar has been really, really aggressive in this lane, and we have punished it 3 for 3 now, as all deaths are on Waldemar right now.
And this guy is a very well-known Scarf player. You don't expect him to be making these sort of mistakes when you know that this amount of crowd control is available for Team Secret. It's, to a degree, it's a bit of disrespect. And as you rightly said, Team Secret punishing Waldemar heavily in this game, who, to be honest, Waldemar just hasn't been having the performance that we were sort of expecting from him in this series.
Now, we do have a little bit of a jungle steal from both sides going down. The backs were actually taken out by this fortress. And at the same time, there was really no presence there from Jetpacks. He had actually gone home during that entire exchange, so he wasn't really on the map in order to offer any kind of resistance or any counters. But Raph was able to pick up the slack. He did steal out the backs. We do steal out the forwards, though, here with Team Secret. And Qualifier, he's back up to full strength at this point. He does have that book. He has a Sorrow Blade, and Raph is just going to drop real low from the back of a Mowgli stun and Palmataro. I mean, the damage is really just there. Palmataro has that level 6 now as well. If they get them low, it's going to get chased out by a Hellfire Brew.
He may very well do. Mowgli looking for a bit of an aggressive stun, isn't quite able to capitalize on it. And it's just Team Secret right now posturing around. They're waiting. They realize that getting their level 6 marks is very important. But once again, Team Secret doing what they do best. They have good control over the map. They rotate up into the lane. They get the lane shoving in their favor. So Waldemar has to sit in the lane and deal with the minions pushing in his favor. They use flares and scout traps to gain superior vision control around this major objective, and they secure themselves an early gold mine. If you are a new team looking to improve your objective control, Team Secret is the team you want to be watching because they do a damn good job at it.
All right, so Qualifier gets back to the lane. Waldemar did push it up. So in terms of the cash, it's about 2,000 or so in favor of Team Secret. SK still trailing behind a little bit. They do have a kill on the board, but unfortunately their objectives have just not really been on quite the same level of Team Secret yet. Waldemar, without that forward turret, he is going to have to fall back and stay more or less on his side of the map, deep into his map as well, because without that safety net and that aggression that we saw earlier is very likely to cease at this point.
The one thing I really want to highlight is this very early Crucible that's been picked up by Mowgli. You heard from Rome on the analyst desk how he said that in these fights, Koshka getting onto the right targets is going to be impactful, or massively the major impact factor for SK to come out ahead. And given that there is so much defense available for the Team Secret lineup, it is going to be so hard for Jetpacks to really find a target to land that yummy catnip frenzy. He's not going to be able to lock down Palmataro, he's not going to be able to lock down Qualifier, and that just makes you wonder, who is he going to lock down? What sort of an impact is he going to have? Well, he's going to try and find out now.
And, well, we already saw one block, the big red button on top of Waldemar to keep him at bay, and, well, no support at all, even throwing down the blast trimmer for good measure, as Mowgli, I don't actually think got anything for it, but still, a kill is a kill. Jetpacks is going to be down for another 5 seconds, and Secret putting down the little cat girl. Raph is now going to be here for the defense. They found Waldemar in the bush. Qualifier just landing on top of the squishy dragon, and well, that's a giant mech suit now on top of you. He goes down very quick fashion, and now it's Team Secret. Again, they're looking to put the irons here to this turret.
Certainly, a lot of damage down onto Raph. Hellfire Brew's available,
but no combo. He's going to hold on to it at least for now. Now, Waldemar does have that Dragon's Breath ready to go, but on both sides. I mean, it's so easy to see it being wound up and then just get stunned out of it. It's one of the problems of picking up these carries with these channelable ultimates, because they can get countered. The Yummy Catnip Frenzy to stop out the Ringo, and of course the double stun combo to stop out Waldemar. So haven't really seen uses of them yet, but at the same time, Team Secret saying, well, we don't need them. 5-1, and the kills brings us into a 3,000 gold lead.
Exactly that. And, I want to come back to your point of these channeling ultimates, because we saw it right there in that last engagement. They tried to collapse down onto Qualifier, but because of the beautifully timed reflex block, followed up by the Crucible from Mowgli, it was just impossible for Jetpacks to actually land that crowd control and set up for the play that SK needed, which meant that Team Secret could just catch the overextended Jetpacks, and he didn't really get an opportunity to make any plays. Speaking of plays, Mowgli, he's looking for the stun.
Yeah, speaking of overextended, well, all right, Raph, he's going to be the one that actually gets collapsed upon. Look at Qualifier, just switches gears, looks for Waldemar, but now, again, the Yummy Catnip Frenzy will actually land the Dragon's Breath there as well, but Jetpack will live through it. Can't say the same for that Jewel, and now Palmatar is actually split from Mowgli. Doesn't matter, Mowgli actually gets, or helps get the kill at the end. Ringo does trade out. It's a 2-for-1 advantage so far for SK, but Mowgli is really trying to bring this to parity, but I don't think he can live through Waldemar. No, he will not. That will be in time for an ace, as SK brings us a little bit of life here onto the stream.
So we see Team Secret make a mistake for the first time in this series, and that is Qualifier being too overconfident. He is split apart from his team. He tries to go for the 1 versus 1 against Waldemar. He misses the stun, and then he gets collapsed on by using a poorly timed reflex block, which set up for Jetpacks to land his crowd control. Then the entire SK lineup collapse, and then they now have the numbers advantage. It is easy for them to turn around, split their focus down onto Palmatoro, and SK are finally able to come out ahead with a team fight, ending up going 3-for-1 overall, which is exactly what they need to gain some momentum and come back into this game.
Jewel picks up a Tyrant's Monocle as a little bit of, well, maybe not a reward for that fight, but she definitely is going to be hitting a lot harder now with those crits. Look for some of those big numbers into this next team fight. SK, they're not going to be counting their chickens yet. They do know that they're up in that fight, but they are going to just go back at this point. Does look like, I think, a little bit of shopping to be done there from Waldemar. Yeah, he does have some nice, shiny items ready for this next fight. And, well, he is level 10. Level 11 there for Jetpacks. We are going to be maxing out here fairly soon. The levels are indeed advantageous for SK, but this is a big team fight situation. 1 stun into 2, and Raph doesn't exist anymore. Here comes that Dragon's Breath again, and Jetpacks, they are able to take down Palmatara. Qualifier to drop here as well. Jetpacks has just done so much work, and Waldemar there for the cleanup as well. That's a back-to-back ace now for SK.
So now we're starting to see the SK that we predicted coming into this semi-final. They position well, their target focus is good, and they're coming out ahead with these team fight wins. But you also have to point out to Team Secret, why are you focusing Raph? He is not the priority in these engagements. You do not want to be trying to invest all your resources into shutting down that fortress when you need to be killing Waldemar, when you need to be peeling for Palmatoro and allowing him to use that Hellfire Brew. He didn't even get it off in that fight, and that's like the biggest part of his damage when you're going for a Crystal Power. So SK executing these fights very well, but also big misplays coming out from Team Secret is going to result in a loss of a turret for them, and also the gold is now equalized.
Now, I understand that Catherine needs a target there for that Merciless Pursuit. She did only see Raph, which is why we kind of had that collapse upon. But as soon as those stuns went down, Waldemar immediately, Dragon's Breath, immediately Jetpacks into the bag and said, all right, well, this Rengo, he's kind of out of tricks at this point. There's no peel, and they collapse and get a back-to-back ace. Very beautiful indeed. They went from minus 3K to now actually leading about 500 over top of their opponents here. So Secret, a little bit shaky here into the mid-game. But at the same time, there's no Kraken here yet. All we have missing is a few turrets. So it's not game-ending mistakes yet. There's still a chance for both teams to kind of take this next set of fights, especially if the Kraken's going to be on the line in the next 90 seconds or so.
What's exciting me the most is now we're going to see Secret really being tested, because SK have put them on the back foot. It's going to be a matter of, can Team Secret execute their composition properly, as Mowgli, he gets spotted out by the flare. Raph might be looking for Qualifier.
Now remember, that turret is not there. Qualifier as a target. He is going to now use his stun to get away. Good reflex block again. Another Dragon's Breath to come in. Palmataro, even with the reflex, he's just going to get burned to a crisp. He wasn't part of that fight.
So this is the risk that you have when you're not going for that early Fountain of Renewal. I liked the Crucible to deal with the Koshka, but then when you're not putting any focus down onto Waldemar, he's free to get his damage down onto the backline, and if you have nothing to do with that, then you're going to get deleted. So great stuff from Waldemar. We were concerned about his play in the early game, but he has completely changed that up throughout this game, and he is being that Scarf Qualifier that we're used to seeing.
Now Jetpacks, he immediately just jumped on top of Qualifier right there. That rocket leap just not really enough to bring out that stun, and now Waldemar's there. Good reflex will keep these guys alive at least for now, but it is a 3v2. Here comes Palmatar into the back, but Qualifier is out, and they could not get that kill on top of Jetpacks. Mowgli's going to be dropping low. He is going to peel away. Palmatar has the Hellfire coming out, but at the same time, the Dragon's Breath, the Jetpacks over the wall again. 3 aces now for SK. This is a turret for sure as well.
It certainly is. SK Gaming punishing the overextensive play that came out from Team Secret. They were looking to try and catch Jetpacks out of position. You see Qualifier missing the stun, and not only that, they then ran 2 members into the full lineup of SK Gaming, and that just allowed Waldemar to sit onto the backline, get his damage down with the Scarf, while Jetpacks just consistently dives on Palmatoro and prevents him from being able to have any impact in these fights. Initially, we were praising Team Secret for being able to play all these different styles of compositions, but I think we're starting to see a weakness of this Team Secret lineup.
Well, yeah, perhaps a bit too quick on the trigger there for deep hero pools and all that, but Qualifier, I mean, by himself, 142 farm to the 115 of Waldemar and 4 kills to the 6. On paper, he hasn't actually done that bad, but it's really just the staggered deaths that are really working against Team Secret. They're not getting these stuns on top of those carries. They have prioritized Raph, or they've had to use it for escapes, that kind of thing. And that is a big detriment when it comes to this combo. You pick this for that control, for that heal, to set up for a safe Palmataro engage. And, well, they're just not getting it anymore. Another big Dragon's Breath going down, and Secret will retreat. Jetpacks even thinking of the Yummy Catnip Frenzy at that end, but does not land. That reflex block was actually really good at by the end of it. And, well, 1 turret down. Kraken's now moving on. Secret, they're looking to hold. They can't if they can get that damage on Jetpacks, but the return damage is way too much. Palmataro is now going to be out of this. That weapon damage big red button is not going to be near enough for a kill, and Waldemar is now just chasing Qualifier back into that fountain. 1 turret is done. The second is going to drop here as well, and we're going to a game number 3, Vidius.
We certainly are. SK Gaming, they turn it around off of the mistakes that Team Secret were initially making, but then all of a sudden SK were like, no, we don't need you to make mistakes. We can make our own plays and we can secure this victory for ourselves. And SK demonstrate that they might not need Leon to turn this best of 3 series around. We could be seeing an upset in the making.
All right, so game number 1 testing the waters, but game number 2 hitting hard here for Team SK. Raph on that fortress, I gotta say, definitely looked a lot stronger for his team. He wasn't getting chunked down. There was a lot more fights they were able to take. He did a lot of the initiation. He also took a lot of soak damage in a lot of these team fights where the double stuns landed only on him. And that led Waldemar and Jetpacks into some really respectable numbers.
Certainly did. 6-2-2 on Jetpacks, 6-4-5. Obviously for Waldemar in the early game, he experienced a lot of pain, a lot of emphasis was being put down from Team Secret to shut him out and prevent him from having that impact. But then after that, he just didn't die. His positioning was always great, he was always free to get that damage down onto the backline, and it was simply execution that you saw from SK every single time. Raph took the brunt of the damage. Jetpacks then dived onto the backline and prevented Palmatoro from being able to get involved, while Waldemar was just cleaning up from the backline. Getting those max channel Dragon's Breaths off was just beautiful, and SK Gaming, they have upset the European powerhouses, and they're going to take them to a game 3.
All right, guys, so with the game 3 hype incoming, we're going to check in with our main analyst there, Rome, with Humanist as well, to get the lowdown and what you might expect here for the game number 3.
Wow, what a great way to start the day here, Rome. Game 2 here in this best of 3 series was absolutely all in favor of SK. They had control from the early game all the way to the moment that they finished that up. I mean, I want to ask you, how were they able to do it so convincingly? I mean, it feels like there was strengths in the composition, but the players themselves executed to a T. So break it down for us. Let us know. I mean, how did it happen? Because it looked like Team Secret just fell flat at every moment.
To be honest, I'm really glad that we put up that jetpacks graphic just right before the match started, because that game was all jetpacks. Him playing this Koshka, being constantly invading the enemy jungle, he did so well in terms of like from the early game, he put on that strong pressure, and throughout the mid and late game, he was always out in front. You notice so many times that Team Secret was focusing on this Koshka, who pretty much had an Aegis, had an Atlas, and he played it out so extremely well. But to be honest, like a lot of confusion came into me when I saw the composition coming out of the Team Secret side. I saw like, okay, they had that Ringo, they had Jewel, and this actually fit in so well for them. But they totally flipped it upside down. Instead of running a Ringo up in the lane, where he does like extremely well against a Scarf, especially in that early game, they opted out and they put up that Jewel, which I felt like probably not the smartest decision on their end. Primarily with the fact that you have a Crystal Ringo running out of that jungle, and so many times over and over again, jetpacks on that Koshka just kept diving them, and they can't do anything about it. At least with Jewel in that jungle, you have an engage. You have like a double stun, pretty much, that you can chain up and target out the Koshka first. And if things go wrong, you can always leap away with that Jewel. But instead, they put that Ringo down there, and they didn't even build him weapon. Going with that Crystal Power, they never had really any chance to put any pressure onto the enemy. They were always just ended up rotating up to the lane and just sitting around that lane brush.
Yeah, I mean, my question is why? Why would they do that? Why would they flip it around? I was trying to think about it for a little bit. I was thinking maybe they think Ringo is a little too squishy to leave up in lane because you can get that Fortress Koshka easy rotation. But real quickly here, before we get our blind pick going, why do you think they did that?
To be honest, they're Team Secret and they have a lot of secrets. They might have wanted to try something new. I think that last game they really wanted to put more pressure onto that lane to make sure that Scarf didn't have such an easy transition towards scaling, towards getting to that late game builds. But what they really didn't think about was that power of Koshka in that early game and how much pressure she can put on them, especially combined with that Fortress. They ran the entire jungle. And this, in my opinion, was like their total and only mistake during the drafting phase. Even if they grab like a Ringo or Jewel, they're totally fine. Catherine, like, but as long as they played it out right, they have a really good terms of scaling, in terms of engaging into that early game, and I think things would have been a lot more better for them had they swapped the positions around.
All right, guys. Well, going into Game 3, this is the decider match. We're going to find out. Blind Pick is ready. We'll bring that up right now. Each team is going to get whatever composition they want. They're going to pick knowing, of course, what opponent they're going against, but there are no bans here. You can take whatever you want. We could see a mirror match, essentially, if it came down to that. What are we going to see here, Rome?
If we're not seeing a top push composition coming out of the Team Secret side, I think they're going to end up going up with this possibly a mirror match with Scarf, with Kroll on both teams. But seeing that they have picked up this Saw already, for sure they're going with the Saw push comp. And okay, so we saw a short video before the entire tournament started today, and you have to notice, like, if SK Prometheus doesn't have a plan against this, they will have a lot of trouble later on. They have to be able to have enough burst damage coming out to take out this Saw. Knowing that Polite Company is coming out of that Finn, you're getting a lot of defense in terms of that barrier coming up. And so they need something that is able to like pretty much burst down Saw really quickly. With Scarf, you do need like quite a bit of time to actually ramp up, and the same can be said with Kroll. So in terms of itemization, I really do hope to see like a double proc build coming out of that Kroll, especially with an Aftershock. It would help them out so much.
All right, can SK Prometheus knock off Team Secret? Let's find out. We'll toss it over to Forecourt Jester and Vedius. Take it away.
So SK saying, all right, we're feeling good, we're feeling confident, let's bring a Kroll into the mix of it. And that's something to be said there, Mr. Vedius, because Team Secret has a really good Kroll Scarf comp, and that's exactly what SK is running against this push comp.
It certainly is. I'm really excited to see this. I'm really excited to see jetpacks on this crawl. He has not been allowed to have it, but you have to remember that he's going up against, hang on a second, jetpacks goes for Qualifier.
You're going to get him low, but I don't think they're going to quite get a kill yet. You can see Mowgli and Palmataro, they're actually abandoning their farming to see what they can do in terms of some of this aggression into the mid. But as we can see, Jetpacks and Raph, they are only really looking to put up a strong front. I don't expect to see a kill or this early, especially since Mowgli is not really going to be posing too much of a threat up against Waldemar this early on.
No, he certainly isn't. He's just going to be dancing around being like, yo, I've got my pipe. Let's just chill out. Let's relax. Let's just do our
Let's have
farming
some polite
thing.
company. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He's just in the presence of some polite people as they have a gentleman's agreement to just sit and farm away. But I don't think Jetpacks is going to stick around and agree to that gentleman's agreement for that long, given that they want to try and shut Qualifier down as soon as possible. But, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys were super excited to see this push comp come out from Team Secret. This is their pride and joy. This is what they brought out at the European Live Championships, and they've made a name for themselves with this composition. Question is, can SK be the ones to upset them?
Well, it's going to come down to the shoulders of Raph, I think. I mean, he's going to be the big engage. If he can set up here for Jetpacks, if we can actually queue up that Dragon's Breath here from Waldemar and get off those devastating fire shots, then SK could actually bring forth a win and put Team Secret down into that third place here for qualifier number 2. But it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. This is the team that really showed us the strength of these push comps, and that's kind of the progenitor of a lot of these comps now that you see these days.
Certainly is, and this is why I'm super excited. You know, we saw game 1, and it was just a stomp from Team Secret, a near perfect game. And then game 2, SK are like, nah, mate, no, we're not having that. They suddenly change things up. They challenge Secret back, and they take us to a game 3. But now SK are really going to be tested. Can they challenge the push comp, or are they going to flop? But with this composition, they definitely have the ability to do it. It's all about just getting on top of Qualifier and deleting him with superior map control, setting up good flanks, and basically utilizing the slow mobility that Saw has. But have a look at Jetpacks. He's trying to do a bit of cheeky counter jungling.
Yeah, but he will be found out by Palmataro. Now Mowgli's got to decide which way does he want to actually come to the aid of his friend. And, well, Mowgli's there now looking for the smash, doesn't quite get it. And Palmataro against Jetpacks. Jetpacks is taking this with a huge crit. 467 at the 3-minute mark. Jetpacks and those stacks really rewarded him nicely there on that 1v1.
This is the thing with an extended fight against a Krull. If you allow him to get all of those stacks of that Vengeful Smite up, you're going to be punished for it. Jetpacks, though, speaking of being punished, someone went a little bit too deep underneath the turret.
Yeah, I thought maybe perhaps he could have the same kind of response there for Qualifier, but he did not have nearly enough stacks or nearly enough damage this early on to make it happen. But at the same time, Qualifier and Mowgli have been pushed back to their side of the map. Here comes Palmataro into the lane as well. Level 3s across the board for everyone. Level 4 is almost flush now for Team SK. And Raph the only one here in lane, but the spin up could be pretty big here for Palmataro. And the chip damage has really started taking down that turret, down to a quarter now at the 4-minute mark.
Yeah, the Saw push comp's starting to do its thing, but SK, they want to try and stop it.
Yeah, but Qualifier is going to get that knife, but it's going to be way too late. Again, Raph with that charge. He does set us up. Jetpacks gets in there. Waldemar for the kill. Waldemar for the double. Well, all right, fine. Jetpacks will take some glory as well. 1-1, but that's now up in kills against this push comp. And, well, if you can't make the push comp work early, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to make it work late.
You certainly are. Team Secret are being punished heavily by SK using the easy mobility and an easy engage that consistently comes out from this fortress to just dive on top of the Saw, preventing him from setting up for this fast push composition, and they are deleting him almost instantly. And this is exactly the way that you want to counter it. I was wondering whether or not SK could deal with this fast push comp, and so far they are demonstrating that they know exactly how to deal with it.
All right, a little bit of damage there on top of Palmataro from that Spitfire. And, ooh, Raph, all right, going to take a shot for his trouble, but Qualifier goes right back to that turret. The creep wave's now been deleted. Raph is still looking to engage on this one. He does actually dodge out from Mowgli's big smash, and, well, now Mowgli, the giant that he is going to be real low and real slow as well. Gets that extra little bit of health there to just deal with Fan the Flames, but so far it has not been good engages from Secret.
No, it certainly has not. Waldemar taking a lot of damage, though. But he is going to be able to back off. Jetpacks, though,
This is a
looking for the
bait.
engage.
Okay, it's not a bait. He's just way too far forward. I mean, Mowgli had gone home and Palmataro had just left him, so kind of dancing around that far up against Raph and Jetpacks, both who do have those gap closers. Look at that instant damage on top of Palmataro as well. Even under that turret, Jetpacks still gets that kill.
SK looked like a completely different team to what we saw from them. They stepped things up in game 2, but they still had a very weak early game. But in game 3, they are all about confidence. They are all about aggression, and they are going all out against Team Secret, who we've been hyping up their push comp, and Team Secret just haven't had an opportunity to fully utilize it yet. Palmataro, he's sitting at 8 farm. He's level 5 to the level 7 Jetpacks, who's 4, 1, and 1. There is a reason why Jetpacks has had his Kroll banned away from him, and you are seeing just why that is.
Alright, so the Kroll here on Jetpacks with 4 kills and 29 farm. He is also level 7. We did just finally get ultimates there from Qualifier, but really it's Mowgli and Palmataro that you really want to level up to 6 here as quick as you can. Raph even looking to get a little bit of a better trade here again. Mowgli, he's going to be a big target. Here comes the flame, and the fire is good. There goes that gentle giant. The From Hill's Heart did not connect. It was a good idea, but Mowgli was already dead by then. And again, now we're just being pushed up. We have actually quite a few creeps here, so that's going to be some good tower damage now on top of it.
Certainly is. SK Gaming doing a phenomenal job. You saw how quickly Mowgli fell right there. Waldemar gets a little bit suppressed with the fire, but is going to be able to back out of that one.
He even
now,
used his boots on that.
Yeah, had to run away really quickly, which is somewhat ironic considering that I don't think he has legs. Oh no, he does. Never mind, he has legs.
Might not be touching the ground, but he does have legs.
He does have
Thaddeus,
legs.
know your dragon anatomy.
my dragon trivia.
Have you not seen How to Train Your Dragon? Seriously.
I have. Great film.
Alright, so Mowgli's still level 5. We don't actually have that Force of Accord yet. The Suppression Fire did come down, but here's a verse. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look like it's going to be doing too much against Raph, but Jetpacks and Waldemar. Waldemar is actually forced out of this fight. Jetpacks can't actually land the kill. He's getting kited out, and Qualifier just knifes him in the face for that kill. Finally, a fight going over to Secret, and all it took was a verse to split the team. And then Waldemar couldn't engage. He was way too low. Jetpacks was desperately looking for a heal. And that kind of just left Raph in the middle. But, I mean, when you're in the middle of 3, you're not really there for the support.
That's exactly it. There was very little that Team Secret had to do to win that fight, really. They were grouped up while SK were kind of split apart. And you can see the difference in how SK set up their fights when it isn't Raph being the one to engage and facilitate the fight. Because they need Raph to be the ones to dive on top of Qualifier. You then have Jetpacks very quickly follow up and then start applying those weakness stacks as soon as possible to reduce the damage coming out from Qualifier. And then you just have Waldemar doing all this consistent damage in the backline to just shut down this sword as quickly as possible. But when you're not allowed to do that, and when you're split up by that Verse of Judgment, you're just giving Qualifier the freedom to do what he wants, position in a way that suits him, and just prioritize the targets from SK that need to be shut down. And with Jetpacks gone, there was no way that SK could continue contesting that fight. So Team Secret, they secure themselves a gold mine, and all of a sudden, they're back in control of the game in terms of the gold.
6 kills to 2, but the gold is very even going back and forth. Raph just walks up and takes that minion mine. That is not exactly what Mowgli had in mind, but now Qualifier and Palmataro, that's the Hell's Heart there on top of Qualifier to stop any kind of damage out of him. Mowgli is still alive. Could you believe this behemoth has not yet dropped? The Dragon Fire going deep, looking for that kill, but now we got this turret fire coming down on top of the little dragon, and it looks like the teams will bounce, at least for now. No verse that time, but low hit points across the board. Palmataro really the only one healthy. And, well, going under this turret could it be the best idea or could be the worst. Raph was the big target. Now the turret is done, and there goes that saw. Mowgli very soon to follow, I'm sure, and there he does drop. Palmataro is going to be the lone defender after this, but 3-man strong. SK is going to try their luck and take another turret off this as well.
So this is the problem now for Team Secret. They're trying to force a fight that they just cannot win. Yes, in the jungle, you had some good positional advantages. You were set up in a way that allows you to position and turn the fight around, but because of the in that particular instance, it was just Mowgli being caught out of position. SK invested a huge number of resources into trying to deal with him, but then without Mowgli being a front line and Kvalifar still trying to look for fights, it's super easy to just turn around from him, get those get those stacks down of that weakness. And when you have this high attack speed build coming out from jetpacks, it is so easy to get those stacked down. So just a little bit too much overconfidence, feeling that with that team fight win, Team Secret could turn it around, but they end up getting punished for SK, who then end up picking 2 turrets off the back of that. And Team Secret, they were in control, but that control has suddenly been lost.
8 kills to 2, and now this was 6-2, now it's 8-2, and the gold went from being at about the 16k mark for each to now a 2,000 gold lead here for SK. They are actually here in the lead, game number 3, pushing back the the European champions of the autumn season, who basically came out of nowhere and just destroyed everybody. So SK, I gotta say, I mean, even without that Leon, their mentality looks very good here.
Certainly does. The way they've bounced back after game 1 has impressed me the most. It was a near perfect game for Team Secret, and yet game 2, SK struggled in the early game, were able to pull out the comeback, and then in game 3 they've looked dominant ever since the start. Yes, they had one bad team fight, but it just shows you that when Jetpacks does get this crawl, he can easily turn the team's morale around, and suddenly SK become a massive threat that need to be considered, who, to be honest, Team Secret just aren't, they haven't considered them to be as dangerous as they have been throughout this final game.
Double blazing salvo for Jetpacks to go with not only the reflex block, but of course the shiver steal as well. It really just looks like there's no getting away from Jetpacks at this point.
There certainly is not. When you have the Shiver Steel, you have that ridiculous slow, you have the Atlas Pauldron to add to that slow, you then have the ridiculous attack speed to consistently apply those stacks and reduce the damage that you're able to do. And it's an interesting build. I quite like this from Jetpacks. They're relying on Waldemar to be the main damage dealer, and when you have the Shatterglass and you combine that up with the Clockwork, you're going to be able to consistently throw out that damage and hit pretty hard. The question for me is how Team Secret are going to turn this around. They have this fast push composition, and they are 2 turrets down.
Yeah,
They
fast push.
were able to take the first turret, but now they're in a position where they can't really set up for a fast push. So they're going to have to use the turret to their advantage. They're going to have to look for a pick with Mowgli, and he's going to have to try and drag Waldemar in. They're going to have to try and shut down Waldemar, and then it's going to be down to Team Secret to use the numbers advantage to win out that fight. But given the positioning that Waldemar's had throughout this game, I think landing a force to call onto him is going to be near impossible.
Well, we haven't really seen kind of any big uses of that forced accord. There's not been any 3-man into a verse stun or into our saw in the suppressant fire. It's really, so far, a lot of the engages have come from the SK side, which is kind of what they need to do. They need Raph to kind of upset the balance. They need him to jump in, and he's been doing that pretty flawlessly. Again, game number 1, didn't really see some big strides from Raph 29, but now coming in for this Leon player, he has done work. Game number 2, and now game number 3, Fortress seems to be his jam.
Certainly is. You have to remember that Raph is a bit of a veteran. He has been the SK Prometheus lineup since it's the beginning. He has been playing competitively for a very long time here in Vainglory, and you can see that experience really starting to develop, and how even after their rough game 1, he may have been the one to tell his team, it's alright guys, look, we had a bad game 1, it's a best of 3 series, we can turn this around. And that experience, the way in which he sets up these engages, and the way he pretty much facilitates his team and enables them to succeed, is just a large reason as to why SK are doing so well. 007 has been involved in practically every single kill this game.
Oh, I thought you were just calling him 007 for a minute.
I've only just noticed that.
Raph 29, Your Majesty's Secret Service. All right. Mowgli is getting adventurous and braving into the jungles, but unfortunately he is just going to get rebuffed very quickly. Now, Kvalifar is really, really far into this one. Now, that's going to be a stun. Not a big follow-up there from that forced accord. Now, Raph is going in. Again, Kvalifar is the big target. He's trying to just be an acrobat, but it's just not working. He is going to die in a puddle of goop, and now Palmatara with no peel available. He is going to drop very quickly here as well, and Mowgli will be cleaned up for the ace on top of it. SK Gaming, they can take this turret. They might even be able to end this game. There's a Kraken on board, and they themselves lead by 4,000 gold and counting. This is looking good for them to actually take Game 3 and advance to the finals.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing the upset here in Europe. Lots of questions were around, could Leon and the SK Prometheus lineup be the ones to upset Team Secret? But it seems that they don't even need Leon, and they are surpassing this Team Secret line. Not only are they surprising us, but they're beating the Saw push comp that has made this Team Secret lineup famous. It was a beautiful force accord onto Waldemar. Unfortunately, the rest of Team Secret weren't able to capitalize, but they could find an opportunity with this Kraken.
That is so many infusions, and Mowgli just walked right into them. Hell's Heart gets the stun on Palmataro, and Jetpacks just does not care. He is just going to be bringing these guys low, looking for the burn. There's 1 and 2, double kill for Waldemar, and that is going to leave us with a Qualifier running away to the back lines. This could be game right here. This Kraken has no chance of being stolen, not with Qualifier that far away, and with only 1 turret left defending at the 16.5-minute mark. This is looking like SK Gaming is moving on into the finals here for Qualifier number 2.
They're in a fantastic position to create the upset here in Europe, and who would have thought it, a SK Prometheus? So many questions coming into this game, so many thought that this would just be an easy walk in the park for Team Secret, but SK, they have stepped up and they are looking to try and end this best of 3 series with this potential game-ending push.
All right, Mowgli, throw out that anchor of legends, get the 3-man into the burst stun, and we might actually be able to hold, and he gets nothing for his troubles. This is now going to be a Kraken coming down. Here's the big Dragon's Breath. Good stun from Mowgli to keep Waldemar from burning the hopes and dreams of Team Secret to a crisp, but it's just not going to matter. The Kraken's way too healthy, and this is going to be an SK Gaming finish. They are now moving on to the finals here tomorrow on streams. Team Secret down into the relegation 3rd or 4th place matchup, and into the 3rd game with the blind picks. Jetpacks, Waldemar, and RAF29 seal the deal, and Secret is not moving to the finals.
They certainly are not, and who would have expected it? SK came in with a game plan, they knew exactly what Team Secret were going to do, and they drafted a composition that was designed for shutting it down. Waldemar got his comfort pick, Jetpacks got his comfort pick, Raf has been playing phenomenally on this fortress, and together they were able to successfully shut down Qualifier, shut down Team Secret, and they're going to be moving on to the finals. Beautifully well played game from SK. There was one team fight where they fell behind and they screwed up a little bit, but other than that, it was pretty much perfection from them. They grew from game to game. They were managed to do it, and SK Gaming are going to be moving on to the finals of the 2nd winter season qualifier.
Something I want to point out before we throw it back to Rome to get his thoughts there back at the lair. Palmataro ended a game at 17 minutes in with 1,300 gold accrued. That gotta hurt, man. That has gotta hurt.
Certainly does. Palmataro, wow.
From across the pond here, Vedius, I will say adieu as we prepare for our next set of matches. But back to the lair here as well. Roman Humanist, what a set of matches.